Media coverage of the White House could significantly change when President-elect Trump takes office. The press has been keeping an almost constant watch outside and inside of Trump Tower in New York, even though access to the president-elect has been very limited. Joining us now is Sarah Westwood, White House reporter for the Washington Examiner, who has been one of those reporters covering Trump Tower. Sarah, there has been a lot of grumbling on both media, mainstream media, and on the Trump side about mainstream media coverage of Donald Trump. You've been there, if you will, on the front lines. What has access been like?
I don't think there's any question that the media coverage of Donald Trump has been overwhelmingly negative, not just of his campaign, but also of the transition process that's constantly been characterized as being in chaos, as being a mess, even though that might not necessarily be the case. That being said, access to Donald Trump has been extremely limited. He hasn't held a press conference since he's been elected. It's been more than 100 days since he's had one. So the members of the media do have somewhat of a legitimate gripe with Donald Trump, given that he hasn't come forward to address questions.
Instead of a regular press conference, the president-elect loves to tweet out all sorts of messages, sometimes completely off the cuff. As a reporter, how do you go about writing and creating stories when, like I said, some of these messages can come so randomly at any random time?
They do seem random, but there does seem to be a method to his madness when it comes to social media use. Donald Trump typically likes to tweet things out in the morning, and that sets the tone of coverage for the rest of the day. He's basically dictating what the news conversation is going to be. You saw that when he's tweeting about flag burning, when he's tweeting about the Boeing deal to build Air Force One, and we are forced to cover that because his social media generates so much interest among his supporters. That information isn't substantively different from what we'd receive from a press release, but it's just different in that it goes directly to the people and we're no longer a filter for that information.
Well, Donald Trump certainly has been an unorthodox candidate. We can certainly expect changes in the way that the press will cover the White House when he's there. Some people have talked about possibly losing the daily briefing. Some, they said, more reliance on social media. What do you think needs to be changed, and what do you think needs to be kept in the way that reporters cover the White House?
Well, certainly what needs to be kept is the daily briefing. I know there's been some discussions about maybe nixing that, but it's important because it gives journalists an opportunity to press the administration on its policies on a daily basis, and it gives them access to answers to their questions and has them all addressed in one place so you can make sure that those answers are addressed. But at the same time, all of this hand-wringing over potentially changing the seating chart in the White House briefing room doesn't make a ton of sense unless you're a journalist who sits on the front row and has an assigned seat. It does make sense to make the White House press corps more democratic, given that that's the way the media is now. There aren't just 3 networks. The media is very much more of a level playing field than a hierarchy like it used to be. So it's not necessary anymore necessarily for the same outlets to have prioritized access to the White House.
Like you say, a changing media landscape and an unorthodox candidate. We'll see. It's going, like we said, it's going to be an interesting 2017. Sarah Westwood, White House reporter for the Washington Examiner. Thanks again for coming and being with us.
Thank you.